Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat. Happy Wednesday. Pat, I've barely not seen you. we spend every second of every day together now. How are you?
I am good. It does feel weird when we finish the Sunday show and it's like we have one day off and then we're prepping for the next show.
Yeah, and we're right
But
away already talking about found this good video, found this one, is this going to work? Like I feel like which is really fun, and the two shows are so different in terms of how we prep for them. It's all a learning curve, but I'm having fun. I'm glad that we have like a little bit of a different focus on
right.
each
It does. It feels like this is the one that's more work putting it together. But
this one, I think we feel a bigger responsibility to like cover everything.
Yeah, it's true. I know. Sometimes it's like we should just narrow it down to a couple topics, but then it's like, how do you not cover Israel? How do you not cover some COVID stuff?
Yeah.
The economy stuff, and everyone wants to know about the election stuff, even though like the election stuff to me is it's the lowest tier of information people need because electing these people is not going to change shit. But
yeah, but it's as we know, it's all connected, which is also why sometimes we're like, wait, where does this thing go? Right. Is this
well, and I think electoral politics is the piece that we can pass some information on that they can pass on to people to try to change their minds about these guys not
right
representing us, so it's like if you leave that part out and just say, well, what good is electoral politics? Well, you need to be able to talk to your normie Dem friends and tell them why they're don't put your faith in electoral politics, so
yeah, absolutely. I just want to thank Macarius 39. Happy Wednesday to you. Cheers. Too, sir or ma'am. Sorry, I never know. Is that terrible? No, I do think it's a sir.
But we should do things on demand for money. Like you put up $2 and say have a shot, and we'll have a shot. 3, I might juggle.
Oh, I
might juggle.
Oh, I like that. Like new tiers for it.
Oh no, God.
That's
the
hilarious.
Dirt. It's $20 and you'll get the dirt on anyone I know.
Ooh, yeah, I can't do that. Or I do have some dirt on people who that's hilarious. I didn't realize you've been prepped. Yeah, we just came on and vibed. Totally, it's what we do. Least important election of our lifetime to date. I mean, truly, I do feel that. Like truly, for the first time, I absolutely feel that.
I do, and I almost feel it's just really important Biden doesn't win, even though that means
that's Trump, the only thing that I do too.
It's like, how do you reward this guy in the party for not listening to everybody for so long?
Yeah,
failing COVID, failing to listen to people to stop funding a genocide,
every promise,
eating up college kids,
lie. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, and we're not even really covering anything about Iran and the elections. I think they have 50 days to do elections. And there were two really fascinating bits that Trita Parsi was talking about a few days ago. One of which was, and I wrote them down because my brain, as you know, is not always great. Yeah.
Lila preps. She writes things down. I think that's cheating. But go ahead.
My cheat sheets. The two things that I thought were really important to show that they have a true democracy in Iran were, one, a high percentage of voter turnout. Their voter turnout is way higher than the US voter turnout.
Right.
And the other thing was not like giving real options and not everybody consolidating behind the one person whom they want to make sure is of the party they want to continue to maintain power. And, whenever you talk about, and I know I live in 2016 and 2020 forever, but like, if you talk about what happened, the rigging of the primaries in 2016, or the consolidation behind everybody dropping out and consolidating behind Biden, normie Dems, Lib Dems, whatever, they'll be like, well, that's just politics. That's the way it's supposed to be. And like, they wanted Biden to win, which is why they did it. But the undermining of democracy in this country has really ramped up over these last few years to the point where, I mean, I wonder if this might be the lowest voter turnout that we ever have in November. I'm really curious to see.
You know, if Biden loses handily, it won't be, I think, because I think young people are going to come out and not vote for him. They're going to not vote hard.
But do you think they're going to come out? You mean vote down
Kind of feel like
ballot?
they've been activated a little bit, and
but for whom? For what?
well, no, but down ballot, you know, at local stuff, like.
But yeah, I mean, I think that might happen if there are different measures, like ballot measures or things like, yeah.
But there are important ballot measures everywhere, you know. It's like they just don't get attention.
Right.
But maybe, you know, maybe the protests and getting these youngsters involved is going to bring out some of that. I don't know. I did want to point out that what you were saying about Iran's democracy and how you rate a thriving, you know, healthy democracy and voter turnout being part of it. As always, I'm listening to NPR, and they had a whole segment on how, you know, since their president, not president, I don't know what you call him, but died in the helicopter crash.
Right. Leader.
I
think
supreme leader.
President. No, but yeah. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, they have two leaders, kind of. It's but they were pointing out how much it isn't a democracy because of the low voter turnout. But if they actually compared some numbers to ours, somebody should make that connection to them that, like, okay, if you're calling that not a democracy and everybody hated both their options.
Exactly. And the response, the government's response to its population's desires, right? Like, we know all these things that are majority popular that our leaders, our representatives.
Yeah.
Hello.
And we're fully disenfranchised, just like their citizens are, because they don't have an outlet to push back against, you know. And there's a lot of debate, and I have a lot of Persian, Iranian friends, and they were largely cheering on his death. And you know, the
like tanky left was excited.
Well,
I mean, not excited, but they were like, "Oh, Israel did this, and we should not be happy about it."
Everything was framed in what they're looking at now, which is Palestine, because their leadership was very pro Hamas specifically, but they've done a lot to help Palestine in this fight. And you know, but the thing is, the leadership with his death doesn't change that the leadership's still going to hold that position.
Yeah.
So, you know,
but it also probably doesn't change who's going to be in power, unfortunately. But we'll see what happens, right? It might still be a horrible person in power, but I understand what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah.
There is, you know, it feels a little bit like what happened on the, like in the libs, whatever, the shit libs, who would say about Ukrainian neo-Nazi brigades that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And like, I would never ally myself with any Nazi, even if they're fighting Putin, who, like, so yeah, some of that feels a little bit like you're not like seeing the forest for the trees, or whatever that expression is. The people who, and there was, and then I know we're gonna do our cheers, because we're supposed to start off on a good note. But there was a poll that we should talk about soon. I don't know when, Sunday, that in the list of countries ranked for their happiness and for their belief in democracy, the US is way down the list. And even places that don't really have democracies were happier with their democratic institutions, like China, than the US is. I mean, it's just, we're in a very strange place where the disenfranchisement, I think, is pervasive, especially in the younger generation, which is the one that, once again, like in 2008, all of that, you know, demographics is destiny. And because of the election of Barack Obama, it was like, we're post-racial, and we've got the young people and the Hispanic people and the Black people. And and now we've just smashed that to a pulp.
All that for the guy that was supposed to bring the country together, work across the aisle. I mean, we're obviously more divided.
He works across the aisle
every level politically. I mean, but his base is more.
Yeah. He worked across the aisle and away from his base.
Yeah. I mean,
he's a full-on right-wing nut job. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
100%. I think we should get to some cheers. What do you think?
I do too. Thanks, Justin. I'm just gonna put that on a lawn sign. That can be my slogan.
Right. We do need to make a lawn sign. We need to make our own lawn sign for what we believe. I mean, the Black Lives Matter one, I believe in blah, 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 blah. That was actually good.
Yeah.
But it's like asterisk, but I'm still voting for Biden because he's better than Trump on all these issues. Like, we need one that's like legit progressive.
Yeah, like an economic Bill of Rights and labor power, and all right, let's get to sorry, I just have to say this really quickly. I think Stephanie reminded me, smash that notification bell, make sure you like and subscribe.
That's true. You'll never know when we could just randomly go on a Tuesday.
It's just the craziest stuff.
On a rant. Could happen these days now that we're rolling in podcasting dough.
Yeah,
we're not, exactly. But we appreciate every donation and subscription a lot.
Yes to both of those. All right, what do you think?
Yeah, let's cheer. You want to set it up, or just this is a commencement speaker at
Morehouse College, the valedictorian
Angelo Fletcher,
speaking with Joe Biden sitting right behind him, which is a difficult thing to do. Just putting that out there.
Amen.
And justice. The Israel-Gaza conflict has plagued the people of its region for generations. It is important to recognize that both sides have suffered heavy casualties in the wake of October 7th. From the comfort of our homes, we watch an unprecedented number of civilians mourn the loss of men, women, and children, while calling for the release of all hostages. For the first time in our lives, we've heard the global community sing one harmonious song that transcends language and culture. It is my stance as a Morehouse man, nay, as a human being, to call for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in the Gaza Strip.
Look at his face, and he's clapping over there.
God. Gross.
Hear the people of this world sing the song of righteous justice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher, and congratulations on a job well done. You are a shining example of the Black male excellence for which Morehouse is globally recognized.
So when Joe, and we do have Joe Biden's parts of his speech, but when he got up, quite a few students turned their backs on him and faculty to protest his being there. It was a really contentious decision to have him there. And as much as a sundowning genocidal maniac who's been on the wrong side of history for his, 50-year career, I still think that it's daunting to have to stand up in front of the leader of the free world, in front of all of the heads of the administration in your college. And I think that takes a lot of integrity and courage. So, cheers to him.
Absolutely. And, the college didn't, I think it was about half the people voted for him to come and half didn't want him there.
Yeah.
Something like that. 60-40 maybe, but like if 40% of a college doesn't want the president of the US to be at their commencement speech, like that's really amazing. That's a high number. Like, I would want him to come to mine so I could
boo him and or make a statement.
Right.
Turning your back on him or protesting against him.
So some of those votes probably were people like that who's like, I'm here so we can insult you, son of a bitch.
Yeah. Well, cheers to D'Angelo Fletcher. And also, Yeah, it just reminds me of him talking at the Emmanuel Church on the anniversary of the crazy shooting, where I think, as we will see for those people who haven't already seen his speech, but there's a lot of pandering to the Black vote because he knows that he is way underwater and no Democrat has ever won without like majority support. And he's knows that's not there.
It's just such a brazen. Why did he choose Morehouse? I mean, and this is the best support he can find in the country, in the sense like,
if you don't vote for him, you ain't black.
Yeah. Well, I ain't black.
Well, look at that. Was that our, was that the fun part of the show? Off to a really fun, good
yeah start. Well, there's always the wheel
there's always the wheel. So here we go. I am doing it, which means I will probably get booted off the show sometime soon. That's the way to start. All right, there we go. I'm gonna spin it again.
Pouring my shot as we spin.
All right, and wait, how many do we have on there? Do I remove this one?
Up to you.
I'm gonna.
You're not gonna listen to me anyway. You
no,
always like to leave all the booze.
I did. It's more fun. All right, let's do it again. God, we had so many say what options today that we had to like sprinkle them around.
Let's start off with good old Biden.
This is the most election of our lifetime.
And by the way, I sit on the stand, and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They'd look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap. And by the way, I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They'd look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
Wow, he's so disgusting. I mean, can you imagine that? All right. Am I removing that, or did you have two? I can't see the wheel.
Oh, you can keep it on there. Yeah, we have another say what we could use. But
okay.
A lot of people didn't listen to the rest of the speech, and they don't connect it to this or whatever. Who cares? But this same speech is where he talks about being a lifeguard in the pool.
Corn Pop.
And having a fight, almost having a fight in the parking lot with a guy named Corn Pop.
Oh, my God.
And his story that he told isn't historically correct at all about this stuff. It was about somebody was diving into the pool who had a black haircut that had oily,
right.
In her hair.
Yep.
And he reframed it as there was some other reason that he got into this fight, but it was basically because they were trying to tell her she couldn't swim off the diving board into the water because of her oily stuff in her conditioner in her hair.
He was always on the right side of the civil rights movement.
Yeah. So, I mean, just the strangest speech ever told in front of a black audience, at the pool.
Kids were looking at him.
What in the actual fuck are you doing here?
Yeah. God, he's just so vile. And
that was peak Biden. That was while his brains were all still there.
That was 4 years ago. You have a request, just so you know. Stephanie wants you to juggle.
Oh my God.
Thank you, Stephanie. That's really sweet. We will
we'll make it happen.
We should get something like that happening. We are not above doing tricks for
we could have a whole pander section at the end of the show. Or just stick around for circus freaks.
All right, we got a lot to talk about. Let's get to it, right?
Yes, let's get to it here.
Hash it out. All right. Hey, what was it? It was something put out by the Israeli Defense Fund, or like a tweet, and it showed the handshake, but I can't remember what it was. And one of our viewers pointed it out that it was that same handshake.
It was the same clip from whatever this program I'm using,
Filmora or something.
Yeah, Filmora is the program I edit with, and
Right.
we pay for it, and it comes with some like stock footage. But it's the two handshakes greeting is part of the IDF video or something. Like
maybe we need different hands. No, I'm kidding.
I don't work for the IDF. It wasn't me. I'm not
sure, Pat. Sure.
Well,
okay.
since we're going to talk about COVID, we get called feds once in a while, so it kind of fits. It's our transition into COVID here.
That's our transition. We are the feds. So yes, we are starting with masking up. There was actually a bit of COVID news this week. We'll start with our numbers because this account has been doing really heroic work. BNO News. They have been collecting data from all the hospitals, every state, nationally, since the CDC and St. John's, and since all the data collection stopped, they've taken it upon themselves. So this is where we are now. New deaths are at 459 this past week, and new cases 36,000. So still 10 times the number Fauci originally said we would have to get under to return to normal. But this was really the next part. This week, only 43% of hospitals in the US submitted COVID data, a sharp decline from 91% last week. Some states are reporting an uptick in cases for the second week in a row. New York went from up 10% the week before, New Jersey up 61%. 44th week in a row with more than 400 new COVID deaths. So over the last 44 weeks, there have been 58,430 deaths. And so far this year, more than 3.2 million COVID cases have been reported in the US, causing 282,382 hospitalizations and 28,936 deaths.
Yeah, and keep in mind these are the hospitalization and death numbers we're focused on,
right?
Which people checking in with long COVID issues aren't being tracked on this at all. It's not registering. Oh, look at all the heart attacks going up. Oh, look at all the dementia going up. Look at all the brain damage going up. Look at all the everything going up. So, keep that in mind. But then also, it's really important that they're talking about where was it? 43% submitted data compared to 91%. And what we're realizing is it's growing in a lot of the US. This is the CDC's own map. So we're getting half the data, but it's likely growing in a lot of these states.
In entering the summer months, which, it's not seasonal. Obviously, there's like ebbs and flows throughout the year, but there is usually a bit of a decline as the summer starts because people are outdoors more.
Right. And so that's a bad sign. And here we are with the CDC again, as I like to mention, no one's scared of purple.
It's so calming. These are the cool colors.
And teal and gray. It's like a cool palette right there.
Yeah.
The big warning one is Florida. And that doesn't grab your attention as like, oh, look at how scary it is in Florida. It's not flaming red. Like, this is fine. It's purple.
Yes.
Conscious decision.
Done their due diligence. And, it always reminds me a bit of the, whoops, we both did it at the same time, of under George W., where just like randomly they would up the threat level, but they would just like make it up. And after his, administration was over, there were Tommy Thompson, who I think was in charge of that, was like, yeah, I never knew why they told me to amp it up or put it down. It was like, he admitted it was just, he's not doing well in the polls. So let's amp up that. Yeah. Okay. So a few different studies came out this week that were interesting. One was the risk factor for Alzheimer's. That a COVID infection should be considered a risk factor for Alzheimer's. The other thing was the persistence. Oh my goodness, here come my readers. Persistent increase of cardiovascular and cerebrovascular events in COVID-19 patients. Your risk of serious cardiovascular events after an episode of COVID extends 3 or more years after. This study was limited to 3 years because that's pretty much all they've had, to be able to pull the data from. This is consistent with viral persistence after infection. The story of post-COVID conditions just gets worse with more research and information. Please avoid getting COVID.
Yeah, and that 3-year part is the 3 years or more part is very important because we don't know that it ever goes away. So
they haven't found that it does yet.
Tested long enough to see it go away in people.
Yeah.
It's persistent. It stays in your cells and it infects all your organs. So the idea that we should just go back to normal and keep giving kids this 2-3 times a year is insanity.
I mean, we are nowhere near ready for what's going to be happening to all of our children. Thanks, Audrey. Without Devin here, I need somebody to be encouraging about my readers. Okay, and the next one is
Moderna themselves are pointing out that 1 in 5 Americans who get COVID develop long COVID. That's 1 in 5. And so like it's a weird situation where they're making money on the vaccine, they're making money on the treatment, and yet they're the ones out here telling us that 1 in 5 are going to get long COVID, not our government.
And they say the best way not to get it is not to get it in the first place, which again, our government doesn't say, or the CDC. Yeah.
Right. I mean, masks are the biggest preventer. And like, personally, my boss was sick on Monday. We didn't work.
He's always sick.
It's probably his, I'm guessing 5th or 6th time having COVID. He's probably got long COVID too. But I, to my knowledge, have not gotten COVID, and we drive around in a car all day and work together side by side all day. But I mask vigilantly. So, masks work. I mean, that's anecdotal stuff, but like the studies show, which is the next slide.
There was a huge new study done. It was by, gosh darn it,
American Society for Microbiology.
There you go. Thank you. My eyes. New gold standard review of 100 studies finds masks are effective in reducing transmission of respiratory diseases. I mean, it's so ridiculous because, of course, that's not new, but good to see it again. N95 respirators are significantly more effective than medical or cloth masks. Mask mandates are effective in reducing community transmission, because that was one of the biggest parts when they kind of walked back the Cochrane review study. What they kept saying was, no, this is not if the mask is effective. These are the RCTs, the random clinical trials, where we find that, people don't wear them as much. And so mask mandates aren't as important. So that masks aren't effective because mask mandates aren't effective. They kind of turn themselves into pretzels to explain their horrible review and how it was being used by anti-maskers and COVID minimizers. But in this study, they are saying that even looking at those RCTs, we found that masks do protect in the community, and N95 respirators, masks made using higher grade filtration material and designed to fit closely around the face to protect against airborne contaminants, are superior to masks in healthcare workers, surgical masks or baggy blues, especially when respirators were worn continuously at work. Non-RCT evidence also shows that masks work and respirators work better. So, that just came out today. I wonder how often that will be referred to by the COVID minimizing crew.
I'm sure Jimmy Dore is going to report on it. That much I know. He's going to say, you know what? The Cochrane study was thoroughly debunked, and here's the quote. Here are quotes from the people who created that study that said, "Oh, we're not saying masks don't work." I'm sure he reported on that a lot. But here's a study doing what they said. And they always say, well, no, RCTs are everything. It's the gold standard, the RCTs. Well, here's the RCT that looked at 100 studies and came to the conclusion that masks do work. Even
mask mandates in communities work.
Mask mandates work.
Right.
And, N95s work. They are more effective than the other masks. And it's because of the magnetic particle stuff, it's not,
and it fits more tightly, and it's like layers of filters. Yeah.
yeah, it actually is a different technology completely than other masks, including the baggy blue. So, you know, the idea that people should be out here wearing baggy blues, like if you're concerned about COVID and wearing a mask, for God's sakes, please tell these people to wear N95s, and it's night and day difference. But the study proved everything we knew. It's just another thing we can point to and say the Cochrane study's bullshit. The authors themselves said it was bullshit to be taken the way these anti-maskers
it was being interpreted,
took
but in bad faith. Yeah.
But here's the WHO just yesterday. Great, they're pushing wearing masks still, and what do they have? The baggy blues.
I mean, that's just so insane. Why do you think they do that? Actually, like, what's the point of that?
I honestly don't know. I mean, maybe they just hired.
They all own stock.
Maybe it's not intentional. Maybe it's just like the clip art has a mask, a baggy blue, and they don't have clip art with an N95, or I mean, we wouldn't do something that like careless. So yeah, it's too important to do.
Yeah,
you're right. I mean,
I just wonder what the point of that is. Is it cheaper? Is it just easier to disseminate those? I mean, the truth is, even if everybody were wearing masks and everybody were wearing surgical, that would still be better than nothing. So maybe that's what they're like. It's just easier to get your hand on that. But then it feels a little bit like the cloth mask thing. You know, it's like then you get caught in people looking at you and not trusting you, because that's not the best information to be putting out there. It's just kind of weird. And all of this comes as, you know, and this is where the Believe Science Administration is just so appallingly genocidal, even here at home. They are now ending CDC's Bridge Access Program for COVID-19 vaccinations, which means they will no longer be free coming in August 2024. So the people who don't have health insurance and are the poorest and probably don't have primary care physicians will no longer be able to be vaccinated. They already can't test and treat for free. I mean, it is such a clear eugenics. Say again.
Top job of our president is to protect us, and it's just an utter failure on all levels. We're less safe because of Israel. He's failed on COVID miserably. He's spreading misinformation currently that is killing kids and not raising the alarm bells. And we have another, bird flu is spreading. It's already infected humans in the US. What are we doing? We're pretending we're past the first pandemic, and we've turned the whole public against masking. And protections
and vaccinations in general, right? We have TB and measles making comebacks. I mean, it's really like we are not prepared for the next pandemic, and he should be sounding the alarm bells. I'm really curious if they're going to bring up COVID at all in their debates.
Yeah, I don't think I kind of think it doesn't come up, because look, the CNN's not going to want to talk about it.
I mean, when Biden does talk about it, he'll say a million people died under the last guy. Like, he just lies.
I don't think he'd want to even go there. He can go there as a talking point in the public because the public is so uninformed.
Right.
But if he goes there against Trump, Trump's going to be ready with some numbers about how much it's only going to hurt Biden if he goes there. So it would have to be a question from the public or something that sneaks in. But
no public allowed. Do you think that the CNN moderators would ask? But they think COVID's over.
I think we just are acting post-COVID, but we'll probably have by debate time. Well, maybe not the first debate. By the second debate time, we'll probably have bird flu roaming around us a lot. So there's that to look forward to. So maybe they'll ask a question because bird flu death ticker might show up.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you, Honeybee. Finally made the live stream. Really appreciate you guys being one of the few on the left to consistently cover COVID and the pandemic as a disabled person on multiple immune suppressing medications. Thank you for saying that. Thank
you. Please yell at the podcasters that don't. I mean, I try, and it's not to get us more viewers here. It's an unpopular position to take, which is why so many don't. But it's not that I want us to have all the COVID viewers. I want these big platforms to have some fucking shame and humility and recognize the moment. Stop talking about communism if you can't even
touch
do
something
issue.
for your
Like,
for your community, show solidarity with everybody. Yeah, I agree. I did just see right before we came on that they not vetoed, but they voted down the North Carolina mask ban, but it still now will go back, and possibly they will rewrite the bill or tinker with it and do medical exceptions, which even that, it's like, who are you going to appeal to for that? Where do you go? Do you get arrested and then have to file with somebody and be like, no, it's about like,
as a healthy person that's just informed on COVID, I don't need to have a disease to not want to get a disease. Like, for you to say, I need to just free whatever.
Raw dog.
I need to raw dog some sick air.
Yeah.
Because why?
Yeah.
Why? I can't protect myself. Like, it's insanity. And, if you're immunocompromised and really at severe risk versus the severe risk we're all at, but it's different. It's acute. Right. You could die quickly. That's insane that you would have to provide some documentation to just not get sick. Like,
my freedoms. Where's that crowd? My freedoms. All right. That's bleak. Should we spin? What do you think?
Yeah, let's move on from COVID. Unfortunately, one day we'll have some good news on COVID. So
why is it saying remove when we're not even there? Oh, there we go. We never took it up. Look at that. I didn't know you could do that. Baby. All right. It's because we had a bunch of things in one category and we couldn't make everything fit. So what's our dealer's choice?
I think we need a true look at some puppets or puppet dogs or
something just cute and sweet. Go for it.
Look how they've removed it too.
No way.
You saw that was up there. This site is fucking with us.
Yeah, it's bad. Yeah, there was definitely one puppets up here. I remember watching it. It's gone.
That's all right. I'm loading it. We can just talk for 10 seconds.
All right, or we could put a different thing.
Oh, I could juggle. What can I juggle?
Is that really what you're gonna do?
I'm gonna try 3 random objects: my light, my glasses, and my shot glass.
All right, let's see it. Oh, that's pretty good.
Sort of.
How many times do you have to do it for it to count as
juggling?
Real juggling.
It's a little trickier with some strange objects. Processing. Here we go.
Oh, there we go.
Puppets. It is.
Oh, here's where we get dinged for the music, Pat. Every time.
This one?
Sure we'll get dinged for it.
Oh, no, I changed it. This is our...
Really?
Okay. Yep, we're good.
Oh, my God.
That one right
there. That's crazy. Oh my God. Is that curling? Is that sport?
That is
curling. What is curling?
We always joke that if you're going to get in the Olympics, like if you really dedicated your time, you could learn how to get good at that one, I think.
I feel like anybody should be able to be good at that one.
Do you know that's a sport that there are actually rich clubs where people do that over in
Europe somewhere? Is it?
It's they're big heavy cement things that are made in just one location on Earth.
Okay.
I learned some stuff about this actually.
Yeah.
And you're just brushing the ice to direct the flow of how smooth and to turn it a little bit as it goes. And it's
okay. Okay. So you're kind of like prepping the ice in some way. I feel like that's my style of parenting. You know, there's like the helicopter parents. I'm not a helicopter parent. I'm a curling parent. Like I prep stuff because, you know, if you fail to prepare to fail. So like make everything like, okay, you got like everything's ready. They get dressed the night before, after their showers for what they're going to wear. Like my kids would sleep in their outfits, even like school uniforms for the next day so that we didn't have to deal with it in the morning.
That's good.
I'm a curling parent.
I just saw in the club. I apologize to the
I could tell you weren't listening. Yeah.
No, I wasn't listening at all. There's a comment I saw. There's a curling club. It's not bougie in Seattle. So, you know, maybe regular folks curl too.
Wait, she didn't say it's not bougie. She said it's not easy.
You should read all the comments.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. Oh, okay. All right. Sorry. I haven't. I was actually engaging and talking back and forth with you. Look, he's still doing no. Pat, it's your show. I'm just here for the ride.
Sorry, I was looking for a graphic.
Oh, wrong again. I know. That's very funny. It's very funny. All right. We are moving on, right?
Yeah. What's the next topic? What do we got?
Next topic we got. Worst of the week. Oh Lord. Okay. Worst of the week.
Worst of the week. Sorry. You are never going to remember to push the graphic button.
That's true. That is true.
That's why
for the worst of the week. You're right. No, you're totally right. Okay, we bring you Matt Miller, the spokesperson for the Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, who I think, and I don't normally talk about the way people look because I think it's really immaterial, but I gotta say, he looks like out of central casting villain. And he is, and the way he lies and is so condescending. So this is in regards to the latest warrant put out for Netanyahu, Yoav Gallant, and the leader of Hamas also. But of course, that's fine with the Biden administration. This is how we are responding to the ICC's arrest warrants.
As the Secretary said in a statement a short time ago, the United States fundamentally rejects the announcement today from the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court that he is applying for arrest warrants for senior Israeli officials together with warrants for Hamas terrorists. There should be no equivalence between Israel and Hamas. None. Hamas is a brutal terrorist organization that carried out the worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust and is still holding dozens of innocent people hostage, including Americans. Furthermore, the United States has been clear since well before the current conflict that the ICC has no jurisdiction over this matter. The ICC was established by its state parties as a court of limited jurisdiction. These limits are rooted in principles of complementarity, which do not appear to have been applied here, amid the prosecutor's rush to seek these arrest warrants, rather than allowing the Israeli legal system a full and timely opportunity to proceed. In other situations, the prosecutor deferred to national investigations and worked with states to allow them time to investigate. The prosecutor did not afford the same opportunity to Israel in this case, which has ongoing investigations into allegations against its personnel. There are also deeply troubling process questions. Despite not being a member of the court, Israel was prepared to cooperate with the prosecutor and had made that clear. In fact, the prosecutor himself was scheduled to visit Israel as early as next week to discuss the investigation and hear from the Israeli government. The prosecutor's staff was supposed to land in Israel today to coordinate the visit, and instead, Israel was informed that the prosecutor's staff didn't get on their flight around the same time that the prosecutor himself went on television to announce these charges. These circumstances call into question the legitimacy and credibility of this investigation. Finally, this decision does nothing to help and could jeopardize ongoing efforts to reach a ceasefire agreement that would get hostages out of Gaza and surge humanitarian assistance in. Those are the goals that the United States is pursuing and will continue to pursue despite these actions by the ICC prosecutor.
Oh my God, there's so much to unpack with all those lies. The false equivalence is the one that really kills me, actually.
That's what I was going to say, because him acting like the ICC didn't come out and say these are equal crimes. The ICC came out and said, we're charging the people who we think committed crimes.
Right.
And if you actually want to do a complementary thing, there's no doubt that Israel's guilty of worse crimes, but the ICC isn't doing that, though. The ICC just came out and said, people who committed crimes, we're going to charge them. And these are the people we're charging. And it's almost in fairness to Israel that they're charging.
I mean, truly, yes. So yeah, there's so many levels. First of all, whenever they say it's the worst attack on Jews since the Holocaust, it really feels to me like a kind of Holocaust denialism. I mean, yes, 1,200 people were killed. It's horrifying. We actually don't know how many of them were killed by the IDF.
If you get to civilians, that's still like 750 or something,
which is still
it's a different number, though.
It is a different number. Horrible.
But to not let's list the Palestinians that are taken hostage. Like,
right. So they always talk about bring back the hostages. They have 10,000 almost Palestinian hostages. They never talk about that. They have actual substantiated proof of sexual assault and rape on Palestinian women and children. I'm sorry, I'm just like the torture. They have documented torture. Yeah, the starvation, the siege, the collective punishment. Like, there are so many, the 40,000 Palestinians who have been slaughtered since October 7th versus the 1,200 on that day, many of whom were IDF soldiers, right? So like, that's a different, I mean, like, there are so many levels to it. And that word terrorist, I feel like, human rights groups and organizations do not consider Hamas a terrorist organization. They might not like them as an administrative body or as the, governing body of Palestine, but like, how are they different from our cops, from the IDF? Like, what is the distinction? How do we delineate what makes a group of terrorists and what doesn't?
It's that brown, color sheet.
Who's our enemy?
How brown are they? And that tells you who's the terrorist. I mean, really, that doesn't even do it. It's who's our ally for oil.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're with Egypt. We're with Saudi Arabia.
But the other part, I mean, there's so many parts, but to say that the ICC didn't let Israel conclude its own investigation of itself.
Yeah, they concluded it on Shireen Abu Akleh.
Right. So the claim that the U.S. is making here is that Israel is investigating the particular people in their country who are potentially committing war crimes. Well, none of that has to do with Netanyahu. Israel's not investigating Netanyahu for committing war crimes. And who lets the committer of a genocide investigate themselves before you step in to try to stop it?
Right.
Like,
they won't let the UN in to investigate the alleged sexual assaults on October 7th.
They kicked out the only free press in Israel.
Yeah.
Al Jazeera.
Yep. Yeah. So that is all infuriating. We had a few different people we could have used for cheers. One of whom is Matt Lee, who is such a great journalist and so dogged with his questioning and doesn't let up for a second. There was a very long clip that it's like, well, I mean, not very, but like 4 or 5 minutes. So we're not going to do that. We're just going to show a minute of Matt Lee holding Matt Miller to the fire and his questioning.
Who does have jurisdiction here?
So the government of Israel has jurisdiction
over the occupied territory.
We have jurisdiction
over Gaza, which is not entirely
They
occupied.
have jurisdiction into looking at the actions
Okay,
by their
so
military
the
personnel.
Palestinians, if they have a complaint, they have to bring it to Israeli courts.
We have jurisdiction, and we
have
with the
jurisdiction?
use of our equipment.
I'm sorry. How do you have
with the
jurisdiction?
use of our military equipment
Matt,
that we have provided?
How do you have jurisdiction?
If you look at the Leahy law, if you look at
that's not jurisdiction in a criminal process. That's
not in a criminal
jurisdiction
process, but it has to do with the determinations that we make and the policies that flow
but
from
that's
it.
not
So, but Matt, long term, you were right that we want to see.
You used to work for DOJ, Matt.
You were
Come on. There's no U.S. does not have jurisdiction.
There are
here.
different. I wasn't referring to criminal jurisdiction, Matt. There are different ways to look at this. Long term, we agree with you that the Palestinian people should be a state that has have the ability to make these determinations. But that's not where we are today. That's where we're trying to get to.
You were fine with the ICC going after.
Go ahead, Humera.
Yeah, that last part.
Yeah, that last part, which we have some clips on. Yeah, of course. Just like everything else, I mean, they have completely dispensed with any notion of a rules-based order, which, listen, most of the world already knew this. I feel like it's possibly really penetrating the brains of people in this country now who thought that we were the good guys. Although, we spared you all the clip of Bill Maher on The View either this morning or yesterday. I know, he's just awful. He's such like an unctuous, sanctimonious, arrogant, ignoramus. Like he doesn't even know what he's talking about, but talking about the good guys versus the bad guys. I mean, it is so comic book level.
If we had a third show, can we just call it Fuck Bill Maher? And
oh my God,
we'll just meet for like half an hour every week, just shred his ass, because he is the worst. He is the one out there doing the most propaganda for Democrats, and because he's a comedian and it's on HBO and he appears to have a fair and balanced audience, kind of thing. It actually works with these centrist shitheads.
Yeah.
They buy his argument. They think like he does because of a lot of the propaganda out there.
Yeah, he lets them off the hook. Like he's good cover for them to be like, it is just like Islam just really is a violent religion. Like that, those sorts of things where he like sanctions their most disgusting, racist, bigoted feelings.
Yeah.
So yes, as we know, there is so much hypocrisy going on. I mean, I know we're sort of like going back and forth between the ICC stuff and Matt Miller, but as this has been pointed out, that when the ICC put out a warrant or war crime charge against Vladimir Putin, who is also not a signatory to the ICC, Joe Biden welcomed that, but now he says it's outrageous when it happens to his good friend Netanyahu. And there was another, Ryan Grimm also had a good exchange where he reminds Miller that even back in 2014, Obama, welcomed the ICC's charges of war crime to another country that was not a signatory. I mean, so the selective semantics of, well, they're not really
it's such blatant hypocrisy, and people see it. I mean, they don't talk about Ukraine anymore, like almost never, because it's an opportunity to bring up Palestine, and you can't support our position in Russia and Ukraine if you look at Palestine. It's right in front of everybody.
The cognitive dissonance
dual
is
standard.
Right, exactly. For so many different reasons. One, that whole it's complicated has really been a get out of jail free card for Israel and Zionists, because the Zionism started before the Holocaust, but the state of Israel was created directly after, because, as we know, the US and Europe would not accept back all of these people who had survived the extermination camps and the labor camps, and they had no place to go. And Israel had helped their project, but also these people needed a place to go, right? You can't just be a displaced person forever, or you'd be a Palestinian. Who was it who said every country has its Jews, and in Israel it's the Palestinians? I think it might have been Primo Levi, a Holocaust survivor. But
just amazing though.
That's the complicated part, is the truly collective guilt of the West and Europe for allowing Jews to be exterminated the way they were, and then not giving them refuge.
Obviously, the Holocaust is very, real. Obviously, just get the blatant, whatever. But that the Hasbara and the guilt and how Israel has run their PR around the world. It's why Germany is one of the most virulent defenders of this Zionism, because
as they
do
arrest
own the guilt.
Jewish protesters.
Right. But they are, I don't know. It's a lot.
So that is the complicated part, is just the horrifying reality of what so many initial settlers in Israel, Palestine, had just, had to endure. But then after that and before that, it actually isn't complicated, because there is a way for people to live together, if you want to be a democracy, without ethnic cleansing and displacement. The difference, I think, is that I do think that the Russia-Ukrainian situation is complicated. So even on that, it doesn't hold up on any level, those comparisons, because it's a completely different circumstance where Ukrainians were killing ethnic Russians in the Donbass region, and NATO was expanding and threatening Russia's borders. It is just, I think, a very different situation.
Absolutely. And I can still understand people who defend Ukraine against Russia here, that's probably the morally right position. But then where it gets complicated there is, what's our role in it? Why did Ukraine decide they were going to wage this war against Russia? I mean, Russia attacked. That's another piece of it. They are the aggressors here. But you have to unpack NATO, our role here. What could the possible outcome be of this war? We're not, Ukraine's not going to win the war. It's going to come down to a settlement that gives Russia some extra land. And, someone was asking me the other day, okay, what happens with the Ukraine war if Trump wins, right? Because Trump's going to get us out of the Ukraine war, right? Well, what happens is we're closer to peace, because Trump is going to be in a position of we're out of there, and then Putin is going to be in a position of, we can't sustain fighting there forever. Right. We need to just wrap this up too. We're heavily extended, so they're going to compromise on some land that's going to give, and it's not a good outcome for Ukraine. But is it better than everyone in your country dying for fucking 50 years?
Yeah. Well, and again, right before Russia invaded, and we knew they were going to invade, right? They all telegraph all their stuff, their back channels. Zelensky made it very clear out loud in the press to Biden, we would like diplomacy. That was before the invasion. Then in April, after the February invasion, there was a chance for a peace pact, a compromise.
That's
again,
a proxy
no.
war.
Yeah. It's incredibly frustrating and sad. It's so hypocritical. There is nobody to go to. There's nobody to talk to about the grief and the crimes that have been happening, because there is no rules-based order. That's a total myth. We all know. But there's something kind of terrifying about the fact that we're all just kind of floating out here waiting for whoever the biggest bully is to just decide what the fate's going to be for all of us.
Right. But I think people in the US are looking at the ICC and everybody knows the Hague, and even if you don't follow politics, that the Hague is a war crimes thing, because we've been taught the Hague, because we've been
after the Holocaust.
We were taught about the Holocaust. Yeah. Everyone knows the Holocaust. Everyone knows people who involved in the Holocaust paid the price because they went to the Hague, which held them to account. And so you're seeing us,
except for the ones that the U.S. took in to help them with their NASA stuff. But
scientists, Nazi scientists are fine with the U.S. But so Americans learned that story in the school, And then so now we move on to now we don't listen to those guys. Those guys are so full of shit over there at the Hague and the ICC. It's really, and then look at the polls. Like none of this is polling well. So it's just clear to so many people that our government isn't listening to us. And that's an opportunity for Trump again, where he comes in. He's the wrecking ball guy. Say what you want about him, but we weren't involved in more wars under Trump than we were under Biden. And
he's going to revel in stopping this war. Yeah,
he's a piece of shit.
He's going to be the guy who gets to stop it.
Whether he is or does worse, I don't. There won't be worse to do under Biden, under Trump. If Trump is, Palestine is severely fucked.
Yeah,
and I don't see how. Even I don't know how you would get a worse policy. I really don't. The world is so against it, and the U.S. public is so against it that Trump couldn't take a harder line than Biden on Israel, on Palestine when he gets into office. It'll be so unpopular that I don't see it getting worse. I think he'd be forced into a position of being better than Biden.
I think you're right, except and we'll get to this a little bit when we go to our election stuff. I don't know. It really sometimes feels like both Biden and Trump are working overtime to try to lose, whether it's like Trump's thing with the Third Reich. Sorry, I'm so hot and I'm looking at my red face. I could see a world in which Jared Kushner and Trump tout the new land that they're selling on the beaches of Gaza or some when my mind goes to like what could be even worse, like already they've destroyed everything there, but like what would be even more cruel and in your face? And I don't know, but I mean I agree with you anyway. Like you can't vote for somebody who is currently doing the genocide. So
yeah, you can, but it was a Trump administration that said to ignore the ICC arrest warrant against Putin, right? So Trump was the one who did that, and that had economic consequences still felt by the U.S. and today. So like, not that he learns a lesson. He didn't learn a lesson from it. Trust me, he didn't even know about any of it. But there are severe implications to us pretending this is not genocide, and we are going to pay severely. Yeah, obviously Israel is going to be a pariah state, but the U.S., our power is diminishing severely as every day.
It really is. Like, I mean, I know I've said this before, but when we went to Italy the year before my dad passed away, which is where I was born, and we lived for a while when I was in high school, and it was just this really lovely trip, but Trump was president, and a shopkeeper started yelling at me about how could Americans vote for Trump? Because, we come off Obama, who wasn't great, like started 5 new wars, as we all know, but spoke a certain way and had a certain like class about him. But there was we haven't come back from that with Biden on any level. And if anything, it's gotten worse because it's shown how revolting the whole American system is.
And the world has been watching different news than the U.S. this entire time.
100%.
So like under Trump, they watch the news and they're like circus show, but like not a genocide. And now they're watching a genocide, So
yeah,
it does make a difference.
Yeah.
Do we want to show Ryan Grimm, or is it too long?
Let's show the first little bit of it. He's doing such a good job in his questions there, and I feel like we should give him some props also.
All right, if we stop it, it's on you.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I'll push the button.
Okay, good.
Ryan.
So back on the question of jurisdiction with the International Criminal Court, you said that because the Palestinians are not a state actor, they don't have jurisdiction over their side. But back in 2014, I just Googled this one up. Jen Psaki was up here, your colleague. The statement was, today the ICC convicted Jermaine Katanga, the commander of the FRPI militia, for his responsibility for war crimes and crimes against humanity. The ICC's DRC cases represent a significant step toward delivering justice for victims in the DRC. She then went on to say the United States reiterates its call for the apprehension of Sylvester Mudakumora, another leader of an abusive rebel militia in the DRC, who is subject to an arrest warrant by the ICC. The Department of State continues to offer a reward of up to $5 million for information leading to his arrest. So, at least in 2014, it was the position of the administration that you could even put out a reward for the arrest of somebody that would then go to the ICC and would have jurisdiction. So why does it not that apply to the current conflict?
So we have supported the work of the ICC in previous cases. I can't speak to this case because I don't know the fundamentals of it. I don't know the jurisdictional questions. Ultimately, the main way that the ICC has jurisdiction is if one of the two state parties to a case is a signatory to the Rome Statute and comes in under the ICC's jurisdiction. That is not the case here. You have Israel, who of course is not a signatory to the ICC. The Palestinians, who do not represent a state at this time, and so in our view cannot sign the Rome Statute and come under the ICC's jurisdiction. I can't speak to other cases. I'd have to look into it in more detail.
And one quick follow-up to what Saeed had asked about whether or not the U.S. had approved the deal that Hamas said it agreed to. There's a lot of reporting in the region that CIA Director Burns was involved in that, had approved. Are you saying that is that not the case? What was Burns' involvement there?
So I'm not going to speak to any of the reporting because I know I will just say because there has been reporting all over the map on this question. Some of it right, some of it partially right, some of it completely wrong. I will say that the reporting that Hamas had accepted a proposal that we put on the table was not accurate. They had sent back a response that accepted some of it, offered amendments. Some of those amendments significant in nature, and they claimed at the time they had accepted the response. That's not what accepted the proposal. That's not what had actually happened.
Okay, so that's a lie, and I don't know if that came out today or yesterday, but it was actually, they did accept it. Then it went to Egypt, who took, I think, notes both from Israel and the U.S., and that was unbeknownst to the leaders of Hamas. Like, I just, it's a lot like with Trump, where it's like, which lies do you address when you are there in the room, when almost every time their mouth is moving, they're lying? Like, which are the most important things? Oh, really? Palestine isn't a state? Why did the U.S. veto or vote against them having their own sovereignty just in the last month? Like, if that's a concern, then why aren't you allowing that to happen? Like, but if you tried to follow up on everything, you would just be sitting, you'd have to tear away every layer and go back, 80 years, 100 years, like they just cannot help themselves.
Well, they have a losing argument. The public knows it. Yeah. These reporters all know it. And thankfully we have some of these reporters calling them out on it daily. But I mean, when you get a response, like some of it's true, some of it's not. Some of it's a lie. Some of it's partially true. Like, what do you do with that? There's like our government, they're not being held account by anybody.
I mean, I mean, if any other country were doing this, we would invade, Anyway,
and imagine not having a press conference. I mean, Biden has had the least press conferences while we're in the middle of backing a literal fucking genocide, and he gets away with it. And he's going to run for president doing highly controlled PR speeches only. And everywhere he goes, he's still going to get screamed down by people who've managed to get into the audience. But he's not, they're going to have 2 debates controlled with no audience. So he's not, the public is just, if you're a Normie Dem and you watch CNN and MSNBC, you even know at this point, this is bullshit.
I hope so. Because I'm shocked when I hear Bill Maher on The View, and I don't watch The View. It was just a clip that I was watching. But
which reminds me, I did want to mention Kimmy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kimmy. Cheers.
I will not show Bill Maher later too.
We did not pull a Bill Maher clip today. I actually had one and I chucked it. All right, are we leading straight into everything Israel, or should we take a little moment of cheer, or what do you think?
Let's take a breath. Worst of the week, Matthew Miller. He will be next week's worst of the week, as well as will Biden, as will Bill Maher. But this week, we're going to highlight him. So worst guy.
Just inveterate liar with the most oily, gross, condescending tone, with doing his job, answering the questions of the press. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, baby.
All right. We got to say what?
Oh, yeah, this one was weird. This one didn't really fit in the category, so we threw it in and say what?
This is the most election of our lifetime.
Bad policies and poor leadership have negatively impacted major life issues. Things like abortion, IVF, surrogacy, euthanasia, as well as a growing support for degenerate cultural values in media, all stem from the pervasiveness of disorder. Our own nation is led by a man who publicly and proudly proclaims his Catholic faith, but at the same time is delusional enough to make the sign of the cross during a pro-abortion rally. He has been so vocal in his support for the murder of innocent babies that I'm sure to many people it appears that you can be both Catholic and pro-choice. He is not alone. From the man behind the COVID lockdowns to the people pushing dangerous gender ideologies onto the youth of America, they all have a glaring thing in common. They are Catholic. This is an important reminder that being Catholic alone doesn't cut it. These are the sorts of things we are told in polite society to not bring up. You know, the difficult and unpleasant things. But if we are going to be men and women for this time in history, we need to stop pretending that the Church of Nice is a winning proposition. We must always speak and act in charity, but never mistake charity for cowardice. It is safe to say that over the past few years, I've gained quite the reputation for speaking my mind. I never envisioned myself nor wanted to have this sort of a platform, but God has given it to me, so I have no other choice but to embrace it and preach more hard truths about accepting your lane and staying in it. For the ladies present today, congratulations on an amazing accomplishment. You should be proud of all that you have achieved to this point in your young lives. I want to speak directly to you briefly because I think it is you, the women, who have had the most diabolical lies told to you. How many of you are sitting here now, about to cross this stage, and are thinking about all the promotions and titles you are going to get in your career? Some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world, but I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world.
Wait, you didn't do the response to it. Okay. Never mind.
We have the response. We
Oh, we do. I mean, that's okay. I couldn't remember how we had done it. Yeah, that was at what college was that? Benedictine College. I mean, what a speech to give at a commencement with all these, I'm assuming half women who have just earned their bachelor's degree and saying, that's nothing. Wait till you have a marriage and kids. That's what you're most excited about. That's just a crazy thing to say out loud. Yeah.
And just like literally in front of people graduating with a degree, like, hey, that degree is great, but don't forget your place. It's really important. You know your place. And you've been told this lie that working is important and all, but like, who invited him? And like, I want him to have I want him canceled. If you can cancel someone, can we cancel him?
I mean, I guess he's been saying this stuff before. I don't really follow football, but yeah, that's pretty gross and despicable. I don't know where the cute little rebuttal was.
It got booted. I added it again though. We're ready to go.
Oh, we did. Did you want well first? And I just want to say, Reflect the Sun, thank you so much. That is such a generous thing, and I really appreciate that. So does Pat. Thank you. Cheers. That's so nice. It's better if we do it as it's happening, because otherwise at the end of the show we're like, oh my god, we forgot to thank all these wonderful people. So thank you. Okay, are we showing it now?
Yeah. So this was a response somebody put out. There's a lot of good ones out there, but I like this one. Right. Lila found this, so
we don't need to do that.
We're Chiefs fans, or at least I think we are. We can't see the TV from the kitchen.
We're Chiefs fans. Of course all my sons are Irish twins.
We're Chiefs fans. I can actually cook.
We're Chiefs fans. What we bring to the table are appetizers. Shoot, how am I gonna make this for 300 people? Oh, no. If you just double that, but then subtract 3 times of that and substitute. What are you doing? What am I doing?
We're Chiefs fans. Of course we're homophobic.
But you've dated women.
No, that was before I was a Chiefs fan. I prayed that away.
We're Chiefs fans. Of course we've had lobotomies.
Did I go to college? These must have been pictures from before your life began. Oh my God.
We're Chiefs fans. Of course we're pro-life.
Wait, didn't you just?
Yeah, he made me whenever he found out it was a girl.
We're Chiefs fans. If this isn't a boy, this might be the last time anyone sees me.
Damn. They went there on a couple of those, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I personally, my favorite is the catch-up help, but you know, there's a lot of good ones in there.
All right, so rolling right back into Israel. Just to recap, we have arrest warrants out for both Netanyahu and Yahya Sinwar, and right away we have Netanyahu basically sort of threatening the head of the ICC.
Yeah, on air, on television.
On air. But again, like everybody just gets to lie and say whatever they want to say, and it doesn't seem to matter in spite of the whole world being against them.
Yeah, let's hear him on TV. Not challenged on this, but just given a platform to say, hey, it's not safe to be you in the
genocidal
ICC.
Monster carrying out a genocide right now.
Are you concerned about traveling in the wake of this arrest warrant?
No, I'm not concerned about traveling. I'm not concerned at all about our status. I think that the prosecutor should be concerned about his status because he's really turning the ICC into a pariah institution. People are just not going to take it seriously. They see it as a...
I mean, it's funny because there were articles where the headline was he should be concerned, which actually made it sound like he was threatening in a way. I would not put it past him or Mossad or anybody to carry out a crazy helicopter crash or whatever. But but when you finish the sentence, he's trying to delegitimize the ICC.
He is, but look, at this point, he's already constrained traveling because of this.
Yeah.
Right. He is, because the arrest warrants against Putin were,
they did have
the US is like, no big deal. It doesn't matter. But Putin didn't go to BRICS. He didn't go to a meeting at BRICS because he's worried about getting arrested.
That's right.
So
yeah.
And look at all the countries literally like they're blocking shipments to his country right now.
That's right.
Those countries
European
are going to arrest him if they have an opportunity.
Yes, they will. I think you're right. And I should say, as much as some of those headlines were not totally accurate, it was last week that was it Ben-Gvir who put out a threat? I don't want to get the person incorrect, but some high-level official in the Israeli administration basically threatening not only the members of the ICC, but also their families.
Right.
So, they are not even trying to hide. I mean, just like they're not hiding their genocide, they're advertising it.
It's out there, but they're losing this war. They're losing the public opinion war. They are accomplishing what they wanted completely in front of everyone's eyes, which is it's ethnic cleansing. Gaza is unlivable. Look, I think we should show this video of this reporter, because this made me sad, but I think it's important to see, like, from somebody there, in a way that two white people here. Well, you're Jewish, so you have more credence on this than me, but I'm just a white guy living in Sacramento of all places.
Nizan Odwa, who's one of the few remaining journalists, which, I mean, the courage it takes to be in Gaza trying to report the truth right now as a member of the press is, I mean, truly, I don't even want to call it inspirational, but kudos to her. And oh my goodness,
Here she is.
You ever seen destruction like this, even in the end of the world movies? No, we have never seen anything like this. And I mean, who's gonna repair this? Who's gonna rebuild this, huh? People are returning and building tents, as you see here, and they're returning after the withdrawal of the Israeli forces, but it's not safe. Look there. Do you see these women carrying bags with their children? People are trying to find anything from their homes. Look there. Reading the paper. سلامات. شو اسمك انت؟ تعالي حنان. ورجيني ايديك. ليش هيك مبهدل؟
بنشتغل.
تشتغلوا بتنظفوا؟
بننظف عشان نقعد فيه.
شو رايك في الدار؟ شو صاير فيه؟
السقف عشان نشوف القمر السما.
فاتحين لكم في السقف فتحة؟
هي كفر استشهد
واستشهد؟
استشهد معاه 16 نفر استشهد في الصين.
Look at this. Look what is written here. USA. USA. These are the American weapons behind me that are used to destroy the buildings around me. Can you see the destruction? Oh my God. Oh my God.
And they're just going to keep saying, well, Hamas. But now they have more recruits for Hamas, of course, than ever before. I mean, Hamas was not that popular before. And whenever there's been a peace process on the table, Hamas has, the popularity has decreased. But when you leave people with no other option, I mean, look at what they have done to their apartment buildings, and by the way, right now, Israel is housing weapons and using hospitals as their own headquarters. Like, every part of this is wrong. And for the Biden administration to say that there is no proof, we investigated and it's not war crimes and this is, unconscionable or outrageous, it's really grotesque, and it's not safe. And even for Israelis to think that they're going to be able to move in, just like we talk about with 9/11, like those buildings, what is being released, the fumes and the the detritus, all of the
people
small
going
molecules,
back to Gaza are all going to come down with some sort of cancer or something. Yeah. It's inevitable with such a toxic environment. And, like we've reported on before, you've got the few hospitals left. All the doctors are saying everyone comes in and they have maggots coming out of their wounds. They can't treat these people. They don't have the medicine or anything. We've got new reports that this pier that we built to provide humanitarian aid has brought in weapons. They're using the humanitarian aid pier built out of rubble that probably includes remains of Palestinians.
There's
now bringing in weapons.
Doubt that it does. Yes. Yeah.
So it's all really disgusting, and people in his own administration are leaving. There's internal stuff saying there's a lot of his own people can't tolerate it anymore. Here's a Jewish woman who just resigned, the first high-profile Jewish person in his campaign.
Folks, were there no Israel, there wouldn't be a Jew in the world who was safe.
Continually using this message of Jewish safety as a smokescreen for Israel's slaughter of Palestinians makes Jews less safe. It enables anti-Semitism. And I just want to say that, of course, what Hamas did on October 7th is atrocious. There were people in my community, among those people that he's speaking about. But it's very clear that the Israeli government is not prioritizing bringing the hostages home. If they cared about that, they would not be bombing the densely populated area that they're in. I am so angry at the president that he is using my community as justification for this slaughter, as, making us the face of the American war machine, I don't think that makes us safe. And if he really cared about Jewish safety, he wouldn't be doing that.
And that's a Biden supporter. Like, she campaigned for him and Kamala. So, yeah, making Jews the face of a genocide is so deeply anti-Semitic, I can barely stand it. Which, is why it is so important that there are so many Jewish groups that are, I don't want to center Jews in this, because obviously Palestinians are the ones who are suffering the most. But I do think it's important that Jews become one of the biggest faces of the protests against this genocide, because it is so atrocious. And
but I do feel like they largely are. It's just not being reported on. But there are so many Jewish groups supporting Palestine right now.
Yeah, which is wonderful. And actually, this sort of falls into the category for me of too little, too late, but I need to just welcome anybody when they finally get here. But there are now Jewish groups in Israel, and they're like peace organizations that are comprised of Jews and Palestinians who are protecting the aid trucks from the Jewish settlers who are trying to destroy all the food in there. Right now, I think they're saying that they need like thousands of trucks going in every day. There used to be hundreds before October 7th. Then after we defunded UNRWA, and because of all of this Jewish settler violence, which is being upheld and coordinated with the IDF, they're lucky to get, they're saying it could be as low as 1-digit, but 2-digit numbers of aid trucks in every day. And so this whole thing with the port is ridiculous.
And obviously that's the aid before all their means of providing their own food were destroyed. So like, since you can't farm at all, there's no food. I mean, you've got reports of Palestinians eating grass. Well, there's not even grass left. And, we're
right. Yeah.
It's famine right now. We're starving these people that Israel is sending them on basically the Trail of Tears to walk themselves to someplace else when you're starving.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know, I mean, we don't have to have a graphic for everything, but Biden's own staff is really worried that he, and of course he is complicit in the famine and in the genocide, which is obviously a huge reason for their, outrage at the ICC report, and a new ICJ report. So the difference between ICJ and ICC, because I keep having to tell myself this, is ICC deals with individual arrest warrants or, criminal decisions, and the ICJ deals with whole countries. So, but the ICJ is once again sort of like re-upping their worry about the ongoing genocide and that nothing is being done to stop it. All right, where do we go from here? I did have that Israel shut down the AP feed, but they've since brought it back. Yesterday or 2 days ago, they shut down, the AP had a live feed of what was happening in Gaza, and they shut it down. But apparently there was some kind of outcry. And for some reason, I'm kind of shocked, but for some reason they listened to it and now it's back up.
Yeah. Well, and we have a lot of stuff on Israel. I think we've covered a lot though, but I do want to point out that there are countries right now coming forward, full-throated attacks on Israel for the genocide, not holding any punches anymore, and
supporting Palestinian state. So Ireland, Norway, and Spain are now recognizing Palestine as its own self-determining state. It's its own ability to govern.
And so we're talking about allies here, completely in conflict with the U.S. position.
Western countries.
Yeah.
Which is so unusual, right? Yeah.
And that's how you lose your status in the world. And, you know, when we have less economic power because China and BRICS are taking over, they have more economic power. Our rules-based order system that we always hype in the world, everyone looks at it and says, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
So now if you don't have the economic threat to hold these countries in alignment with our foreign policy, you don't have as much power. And then you start with economic power, because our economic power has been largely by force.
Yeah. And also, we have the sort of the comfort of being far away from many of these invasions and, bombings and imperial actions that we are either directly doing ourselves or funding and arming, but they don't have that in Europe. So they're already having to deal with Ukraine and Russia at war, and their energy supply being decimated, the pipeline being blown up by us, or what, I mean, we all know. Yeah. But they're all much closer to each other, and the threats and the violence and the disruption that we cause from the safety of being further away, they are dealing with those repercussions much more directly. And the truth is, there's never going to be peace in the Middle East until Palestinians get their own state. We all know that. And even Lloyd Benson, or no, was that his name? No, Lloyd Benson. Is that what I mean? God, my brain just fried. Early on in this said, there is no military resolution to the Palestinian question and Hamas. It is a political process that's going to have to be,
where we go from here is so unknown. Like, there is no known solution to this problem right now is the real
Lloyd Benson ran for president several years ago. Thank you, Deborah. My brain. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. But what happens for Palestine? We don't know. It's just really, it's really bleak. What we do know is this is like South Africa apartheid, in that there's no coming back from this. There's going to be a solution at the end of this, at the backs of all these Palestinians, but Israel can no longer keep them constrained to a second-class citizenship. Like, that's not going to work with the world after this.
Right. So. Well, you can't say you're at war with a group of people you're occupying. Like, you can be at war with another country. So are you but you refuse to allow them to govern themselves, right? So even from the most basic level of just the language of it, this isn't a war between two countries. This is a war of one country that has dominated and occupied another people against them trying to resist and have liberation. I mean, that's just, there's no other way about it, which is illegal.
Of course. You don't kill 100. Look, this 40,000 number is bullshit. It's probably 100,000 plus people that are died, and you see the rubble everywhere. There's no targeted attacks. No, it's not targeted. You don't drop 2,000-ton bombs on people if you're being careful. Your own hostages, you're not making any effort to get back. You're resisting all peace operations. You're resisting humanitarian aid. You're not letting anyone look at what's going on. I mean, it's a genocide. Everybody fucking knows it. That part's settled. So,
and yet they keep saying the same things: the most moral army in the world, and the smart bombs, and the only democracy in the, it's crazy they can keep saying these things. It's like,
yeah, but meanwhile they have AI policies in place, the Lavender program, which is just, it's used, they're testing out the little robot dogs, but the AI policy, they have a system in place that just targets who could be a potential threat and authorizes bombing fucking people.
Which is anybody who's male. Anybody who's male. And the latest thing they did, which is horrifying and a total lie, and nobody's calling them out on it, is they had this woman come forward and say that basically a 10-year-old Palestinian boy killed 50 Israelis on October 7th. So now 10-year-old boys somehow are terrorists capable of killing 50 Israelis.
Be on the lookout for 10-year-old boys.
But that, and then I know we're going to move on, but this is the other thing that is so horrifying. So they are now doxing people and blackmailing them. So you just get like a leaflet, a flyer, and if your name is on it and there are babies on this, right? So like it comes, the Israeli army is publishing photos and names of Palestinian children and accusing them of working for Hamas. This child, so they say who the child, the message from the army reads, "You have been exposed. Call the number below to save yourself." When you do that, a countdown begins, which is an AI system and a website that is, and these people, the Zionism Observer, this blackmail website is actually, and in this thread, they show like they did an IP search and they backtracked it. It is an American company, but basically you either call the number or there's a QR code that you scan with your phone. Like, what are you talking about for these little kids? But then a countdown starts, and if you don't contact them, they're basically threatening
we have your location through our AI system, and we're going to just kill everybody there.
We'll destroy you, or they have blackmail. They'll be like, "Oh, we're going to out you. You're gay," or "Oh, you're married, but you were having an affair with this young woman." So these threats are happening, but like, first of all, it's horrible for it to happen to anybody, but like, I mean, do you see that baby is one of those like kids, and 3-year-old, like.
Where this hits me is like, this all sounds so ridiculous that you think it's like, okay, that's some propaganda put out by Hamas or something. You would almost think, like, because it's so crazy to think this is actually going on. But then you dig into it and it's like, I don't see anything credible refuting this story.
No, they proudly are saying it.
It's like, you're really doing this. Like, this is this is happening in front of all of us, and we're really letting them get away with it because we have so little power. But that's why, these kids in the college campuses, and that's the hub of the protests. It's the hub of the angst of the whole country. But like, they're so important right now.
Yeah, they are. They're keeping that energy going. Oh, okay. Sure. Yeah, let's move right into that.
Go into the protesters.
Okay.
So
yeah.
The story was released that there was a group chat with a lot of prominent people,
billionaires. They basically started a Slack channel.
Yeah, a Slack channel where they all were pressuring Eric Adams to send in the police to, it wasn't specifically to rough up, but like, let's get the police to break up all the protests on these
college campuses. Yeah.
This is who he listens to. This is the Democratic Party in the second most powerful, or possibly the most powerful state in the most powerful country in the world. He's got a Slack channel with billionaires.
The blue state in a blue city. And I mean, the one that people, Colombia, which uses their social justice fighting over decades as part of the draw to their students. Sorry, here come the readers. Okay. One member of the WhatsApp chat group told the Post he donated $2,100 to Adams that month. Some members also offered to pay for private investigators to assist New York police in handling the protests, right? And you remember at the beginning when that professor, Shai Davide or whatever, was like doxing the kids and saying and Bill Ackman, they're never going to work again.
It's all funded by these billionaires.
Yeah. So among some of the nation's most prominent business leaders and financiers, including former CEO of Starbucks, Howard Schultz, Deli founder and CEO Michael Dell, sorry, not Deli. See that? It's good I'm Jewish because that felt like a little anti-Semitic. Hedge fund manager Bill Ackman, Joshua Kushner, founder of Thrive Capital and brother to Jared Kushner, who, by the way, I think we were supposed to, if there are only two of them, then he's the brother that's supposed to be the good one, who's a Democrat, who's married to some model or something, whatever. So yeah, that's where, that's who they're listening to. I mean, that's our democracy, is the Billionaires Club.
And obviously they attacked and beat up multiple protesters everywhere in New York. and none of that's getting mainstream press. I mean, it's complicated.
Really,
still, it's complicated.
Yeah, it's very complicated. Although I will say there was one segment on CNN where they found it was in LA, or it was about the UCLA counter protesters, and they revealed who one of the protesters is. I think he's an Israeli American about to go join the IDF. Really proud of it. Like, he wore a mask. They found out who it was. And that's a lot of street journalism also. Like, even the picture that you just showed, there are so many independent, I mean, I call it street journalism, but like, they are not affiliated with any big outfit. And they're doing incredible work finding out who some of these people are, where their money comes from. Anyway, but the CNN reporter went to his mother's house. She's proud of her baby for going to do this and protesting. And then later, when they contacted her and she realized that I think there might even be an arrest warrant out, or that, he did some stuff that was illegal, people were sent to the hospital. Now she denies that it's her son, but it was very clear that it was. But that was a segment on CNN that nobody's, like, it came and went. All, anytime it's something that's at all pro-Palestinian or pro-protesters, if it gets on at all, it's like a blip.
It won't be a theme, and that's how they cover themselves. Like,
right.
Whoever reported on that will say, "Well, I covered the protest thing."
Yeah.
Yeah. But I want to know if there's an update on. I know in California, the UC workers threatened to strike and join UAW.
Yeah.
They were threatening to join UAW if over the treatment of the UC system of the students who were the punitive actions against the students who protested.
Right. So it's one division of UAW, one chapter. And then the faculty, who's part of that union, and they voted to strike, they were then told by the leaders of that chapter, it's a one-day strike and that's all you get. But now they're pushing back against that.
Okay,
and,
good.
Yeah. And then there was also like the stand-up, what was it? The stand-up strikes that, I can't stand the stand-up strikes. That was the thing that very nicely, they came to me for a statement from WSWS, the World Socialist website. That's what I forwarded to you.
I remember.
Yeah. Was about those stand-up strikes where you force people to go work for the monsters who are profiting off of your labor while you're supposed to be protesting them, so there is some tension there, and I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work out. Yeah.
But what we need is, look, any responsible staff and administrator, anyone in leadership who's not part of the actual presidential, I don't know, whatever. If you're working at a campus and you have an opportunity, you need to stand up for the rights of all those students who are kicked out and punished for protesting, because that can trickle down to all the colleges. All the colleges, it can become a movement where all the staff says, we can't support this. You can't allow you to punish these students for protesting.
That's right.
We need that to spread.
We do. And there was, sorry, I know you're trying to move on, but I just feel like I should say something positive because I'm always the negative one.
Oh,
but
positive?
I do. There was the judge who wow.
I was going to highlight you for a second. No, actually, that was an accident. I just wanted to grab a beer. I just wanted to grab a beer. I'm right here. I'm listening.
So a judge issues a not guilty filing for 41 Brown University students. He says, I think this is a reflection of what nonviolent and peaceful resistance, frankly, is supposed to look like, which is 100% the case if you're going to talk about a democracy and protecting our rights in this country. Like, what in the hell are we even fighting for? The other thing, you ready? Sorry, I have to keep doing this. There was a poll done by the Generation Lab, a firm that researches young adults. They polled 1,250 college students, Jewish and not. And this is something that, there's a lot of derision amongst the liberal elite about college students being ignorant and not even knowing what they're protesting. And one of the questions they asked was, among those who agree or strongly agree with from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Which of the following rivers and seas does the statement refer to? And 70% of the respondents knew. I mean, it's sort of embarrassing that there was 30% who didn't, but okay, 70% knew. I don't know if you would get that from, Bill Maher, who thinks he knows everything. God.
First off, I am so terrible at geography, even though I've been all around the world. It's irrelevant to me mostly because as an American, it's like, it just doesn't, when you're European, you're like, oh, Spain's down here,
You're right.
All that little pieces, I mean, I know a lot of history. My major was art history. So I've studied a lot of history, but to me, 70% getting Jordan River right is amazing.
Yeah.
Like truly amazing.
And again, and I know we talked about this on Sunday, but like, even if you don't know, but you're protesting a genocide, like, I mean,
it's irrelevant if you know the Jordan River.
You're going to like, is this yes, I understand how it's a gotcha, but like, if that's where your focus is and not the babies, and I shouldn't even just say babies because it's just people who are being slaughtered. It's just so revealing where their hearts lie, these disgusting people. Okay. Do we need some happy? Is that what everybody's saying? Is it time?
I'm always all for some happy. What do we got? Do we have some happy?
Oh, am I doing the wheel? Okay, wait.
Sure. Let's spin the wheel.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, I'm going to get that, but I'll also spin again. 1 second.
I could be wrong. We've only had one shot.
I know, it's crazy. I mean, I am on my second glass of wine and we did pregame, but
yeah, baby.
I'm on my fifth beer. We don't even
I don't think we have another puppet.
Come on.
Let's show a timeline. Let's show a funny.
Oh yeah, let's timeline cleanse it. Here we go.
All right.
Cheers.
College students are out there protesting. The government and media are talking so much smack. Calling the encampments Little Gazas.
Little Gazas.
Which is like a great restaurant name for sure. That's I'm definitely going to open up a Little Gaza. People are straight up calling them Hamas. It's like, bro, did you know in 1968, Columbia University students took one of their deans hostage? That's a Hamas right there. And they're saying things like, oh, they're making students unsafe. Like, yeah, from the police that you called on them. Just recently, the UCLA encampment was attacked. A mob of counter-protesters came in the middle of the night, they launched firecrackers, and they just started pulling kids out and literally assaulting them. To me, it was like, once this video circulates, it's going to be very, very clear. These kids are very peaceful, and they're literally getting attacked by outsiders. But there's people actually defending those aggressors, saying, no, they're defending themselves because these students are occupying the campus. I'm like, so you're saying they have the right to resist? Congratulations, you are Hamas. Welcome to Little Gaza. Come for the joke, stay for the flatbread.
Lila, where are you, Lila?
Here, but that's never happened before. Wait, I have to go like this because there the color comes back. I froze during. Oh, nope, not there. Sorry, got to do it again. Look at that.
Doesn't matter.
Darn it.
It's your words that matter, Lila.
Is it?
Yeah. Where'd you get what?
It's not working. I'm trying to do it.
Lila, do you think you got some magic? You're gonna like.
I am. It's not doing my color. It's making me crazy looking. All right. Moving on.
Yeah.
Yes.
We actually
by the way,
behind on topics here.
We are way behind. Okay.
Yeah. Let's
get us going on while I get the wheel back.
Oh, okay. I gotta get going. What's on the next? Economy stuff. We can rifle through the economy stuff because it's,
Look at that. It's always nice when Josh shows up. Thanks.
Excellent. Whatever. Economy's going great, except for Americans are really down on it.
Don't know why.
I wonder why. It's doing great for some people. It's not doing great for me.
That's all that matters.
But that's just because I live in my mom's basement or something. I don't know. I don't. But
home prices, average California home prices to soar to 20 times the average salary by 2030, which is not that far away. Like that used to sound forever away. That's 6 years. Good luck.
Yeah. I mean, 20 times the average salary. like right now, it's like 60% of your wages are being spent on your home, or
Rent,
not even
yeah.
your home. It's rent in California because people aren't buying houses. But obviously, homelessness is tied to the price of rent, and with houses skyrocketing and BlackRock and all these investor groups are buying them all up, there's proof that they're just holding on to them to intentionally drive up prices as well. And they are the ones that own our government. So there's no quick solution out of this. We're not going to legislate our way out of this because the legislators
they're not going to regulate the people they're getting money from
to let this continue.
Yeah.
And we're also in a situation where drug prices 35% more in 1 year.
That's a good thing to run on.
1 year. Meanwhile, Biden's running on what? Dropping the price of like 10 drugs.
Yeah, 9 or 10 of them. But in the next 4 years, like he might not even be president when those prices actually drop.
But what we all know right now is we are paying the ridiculously high grocery prices, and that affects everybody. Like even rich people probably aren't feeling it, but like anyone, even middle class who owns their home is feeling it because it's cutting into their vacation. It's so expensive.
I did see that the dollar store, it's one of those kinds of investments that even when their prices go up a little bit and the people who they, ostensibly built their business to serve can no longer really afford to go there or to buy as much, wealthier people like middle and upper middle class will now shop there and keep to get deals. So no matter what, the dollar store comes out on top, no matter what.
Yeah, and the dollar store is now officially going to be like
$7.99 store.
No, I think they raised it to like $5 is their.
I said $7.99. Why did you say no?
I don't know.
They raised it to $5.
Realism. But they did. We reported on it like a couple weeks ago.
We reported on it. I feel like you just gave us some lofty.
I did some investigative journalism and read a Daily Times article. Daily Wire.
Private health insurance premiums reached new record high this year. Thanks, Obama.
Excellent.
You.
Good thing we live in California with CalCare. Oh, they're squashing CalCare.
Guess what the first thing was to go? Hey, listen, we have an obligation to balance the budget here in California, and we just can't go into debt. So many deeply disappointed, many policies that we really hoped to, enact that we ran on, we had to squash and delete. Because the one thing that they will never do is raise taxes on the wealthy. Just won't do it. And that is the solution. As our good friend Rutger Bregman said, both at the Davos.
Oh, he's a Davos guy. Yeah. At Davos, he was amazing. He called out all these rich billionaires from around the world and all these
flew there in their private jets, saying the one thing that nobody wants to talk about to solve all of these problems is raise taxes on all of you disgusting ghouls.
Yeah. So here he was. Where is it? Oh, here he was on The Daily Show.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, The Daily Show.
Yeah.
Speaking some truth again. So look, anytime any of these people, anyone can get on TV, and even if you're not perfectly in alignment with their positions, speak some truth to the normie Dems, like, fuck, amen.
Yeah.
If I see someone like, say, President Trump talk about we should make America great again, he wants to go back to the 50s or something like that, I'm like, yeah, well, maybe that's a good idea, because in the 50s, we had much higher tax rates for the rich. In fact, a billionaire like Trump would pay like 90% top marginal tax rate.
Right.
The estate tax was over 70% for people like Trump. So, yeah, I mean, make America great again. Bring back those higher tax rates. That would be my slogan. There's this whole boring debate in this country about, capitalism versus socialism. From my perspective, it sounds a bit ridiculous. Like, we're talking about ideas like Medicare for all. 70% of all Americans is in favor of that. Higher taxes on the rich, 75% is in favor of that.
Right.
So it's utterly mainstream. And I know that sort of the standard response here is always, ooh, that sounds like communism. That sounds like Venezuela. But it's not communism, it's common sense. Right? It's what most people support.
He's great. That must have been from a couple years ago, though, because that was when Trevor Noah was running The Daily Show, right? And Jon Stewart's back. But anyway, he's great. He's great. And
hey, man, but where's our money being used? It's being used for cops, cop cities.
More
everywhere.
people killed by U.S. law enforcement in 2023 than any other year in the past decade. And it's increasingly happening in small towns and rural areas, which is, contrary to that sort of like right wing and liberal idea that, it's all urban, which is always code for Black and brown communities, which of course are also hard hit, which is, we didn't even show Biden's speech, whatever. Anyway, but that's, we're funding cops more now than before the George Floyd protests.
And crime is actually down.
And crime is down.
So it's like the Democrats are out there screaming, we're going to be tougher on crime than Republicans. And crime is down. You got Adams in New York, arming. We've got AR machine guns in the hands of cops on the subway.
On college campuses. Yeah.
And college campuses.
Yeah.
And you even ask him and he's like, yeah, crime is down, but it's important. We're making a statement. Well, what's your statement? That college kids should be scared? Everybody should be scared?
Don't protest. What? Yeah. Don't protest the government. That's
and then,
that's the statement.
Obviously the cops are bad enough, but like prison labor, we still haven't gotten Democratic money out of prison labor.
Private prisons. Yeah. Giving more money to private prisons than Trump. And the fact that big companies rely on basically slave labor within this report. So not only do they have no way of, they can't obviously unionize. There's no one to talk to when they are hurt on the job. Basic rights, basic protections are denied to people who have been jailed. And, some of these people are jailed for very minor things. Some of them are put in jail under very dubious circumstances. But the fact that our big businesses rely on slave labor, like I think the most any of the people that they profiled were paid was under $1 an hour. It was like 36 cents an hour, if you're lucky. Some of them are 5 cents an hour for dangerous jobs, firefighting and in poultry plants. Those are dangerous jobs.
Yeah. I worked every day for 2 years with my boss's son who was incarcerated and worked he did prison labor, fire, and, they love it because your life is so bleak and it's an opportunity to get out and have a more interesting life. But these private prisons are incentivized to keep you in jail and keep a constant influx of cheap labor. And there's no getting around that. That's what capitalism breeds. It's like, here's cheap labor. Well, if you're a for-profit prison, look, we found a way to make prisoners get out and be reformed. Well, your CEO and board is like, what the fuck are you doing? You're costing us money.
Kamala Harris specifically on record would not allow certain people who are up for parole to get out because she said we depend on them as firefighters at this cheap level. And the other thing that's so disgusting, so that's, vile. You keep people incarcerated who should be free. When they get out, they are not allowed to try to join the firefighting. That can't be a profession for them.
It's very hard to. It's sold to them as a profession. Like the guy I worked with, it was the same thing. He ended up becoming an electrician, and you got to find a trade when you get out. That's the only real process, because a lot of trade workers, there's room to get a license and get that kind of work. But like him becoming a firefighter was a fantasy. Like he used to talk about it, like, I'd love to do it, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
He was trained to do it for 2 years, put his life on the line all the time. He had so many stories about near-death experiences fighting fires. But I don't know, they're taking us off on a tangent here. But
well, no, but if our economy is dependent on prison labor, that is a huge incentive to criminalize behavior, right? All right.
Yeah,
What else?
And then when you look at, California, we're now struggling as an economy where we have a $50 billion deficit for the first time in a while. And of course, they use that as an excuse to cut all the social programs. So they're going to look for cheap labor, which is going to mean they're going to be tougher on crime probably because their prison buddies, their prison, donors are like, hey, we can get you some cheap labor. It's not like a Dr. Evil room meeting, but like
no, part of the plan. It's actually part of their business plan.
I mean, it's as corrupt as all hell. And everybody, the real people in power know how dirty this system is. It's not like
they thrive on it. They create it.
Yeah. They know, and their staffers know too. That's why if you move up high enough in the Democratic Party, you are corrupt. You made it there.
I mean, there's kind of no way around it. That's just what it is. That's how it works. Pat, we are at 2 hours right now.
What do we have left to talk about?
I mean, we have
probably blow it off. What is it?
Yeah, we have the election stuff, but I don't know.
I don't think we have anything important.
The only thing I do think we should just say really quickly is right now with how the swing states are going and the percentage of people, the percentages that Biden beat Trump by in 2020 are so slim that if it holds up, I know I need to put my readers on because there is actually some information in here. Okay. So in this poll of Democrats and independents, some 20% in each state say they're less likely to vote for Biden due to his handling of the war on Gaza. Okay. This is in the 5 swing states where Biden won in 2020 by a very slim margin. Arizona, 0.31%, Wisconsin, 0.63%, Pennsylvania, 1.17%, Michigan, 2.78%, and Minnesota by 7.11%. And right now, 20% of Democrats and independents in those states say that they are less likely to vote for him. 40% say a permanent ceasefire and conditioning of aid to Israel would make them more likely to vote for him. He seems absolutely immovable. And anyway, at this point, I think a lot of people feel like it's too late. But that is what the electoral map would look like if he loses those 5 states that are crucial to a victory. So it would be 273 Trump to 265 Biden. And yesterday, I think, was the Kentucky Democratic primary. Uncommitted got 17.8% and will be securing at least 2 delegates for the Democratic National Convention, which will likely be online.
If there's any way for anyone out there on earth watching the show or friend of friend to become an uncommitted delegate, it's not going to happen. They're going to shield this whole process. But like to possibly have a platform to speak up as an uncommitted delegate against Joe Biden would be amazing. But there are a lot of uncommitted delegates going to go Biden's way. I mean, against Biden.
Yeah, I think so too.
Strike wants to say hi. She just
good.
Just in time to say goodnight. She popped in. She knows. She knows.
Strike. She didn't scratch you today during the show. That's nice.
Don't speak so soon. We should put out a clip of that little attack of the flesh attack of I don't know. We're talking about
yeah. We'll find it. All the mishaps.
Cat cam where I get attacked by Strike. Anyway. All right. I'm talking about my cat. It's probably the sign we need to get the hell out of here.
I know we didn't even get into the whole Jerry Springer aspect of our Congress, but maybe we'll add that to our Sunday show.
Maybe, but I feel like God, it's beneath even our stupid show.
I know
it's cover the weeds of this petty. I mean, the whole point of talking about what this spat in Congress with MGT is just how unrepresented we are, and this is where their focus is, and
yeah. And like creating merch for the things that you say that are clever that Jasmine Crockett is doing. I mean, it's just you're right. It's just so beneath all of us. And especially like, the there is a genocide going on, but also in our own country, there are so many people who are hurting, and we're creating merch of our best sayings in Congress. Like, it's just despicable. Okay. Is that it? We moved.
I think on one good thing. I think we did it. We made it a show. Congrats.
You guys are awesome. Thank you for showing up for us so hard, and we really appreciate you. And if we didn't get to some of your comments, I'm sorry. We're trying to like read them as we're moving through the show, but we do go back and read them later. So thank you, and for your donations and stuff. And keep punching up. We'll see you on Sunday.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Football connects us. Football unites. Educates, frustrates us. Football excites. Football has the power to take us away from the troubles in our day. That's why we play. And for a few minutes, we're a child again. Not the care in the world, free to run wild again. To fun smile again, spend a while again and again and again in the company of a ball. Girl, boy, old, young, no matter the tongue, football is a friend to all.